Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healey.
Sam Healey, what's up, y'all?
Today we're taking a look at Doom.
Doom.
Now this is Doom the board game, which is actually the second time a Doom the board game has been printed. The first one came out, I guess, like over 10 years ago at this point. It's been a while.
2004, 5, something like that.
Now that Doom the board game that came out was from Kevin Wilson and was the original game in a series. I mean, after that, Descent built on Doom. And then Descent 2.0 built on Descent. And then Star Wars Imperial Assault built on that.
Right.
And now we have Doom, which doesn't actually build on those other systems. It uses some things from them.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it.
This is different.
Yeah.
Okay? It's actually a fairly simplistic game. So let's take a look inside the box.
Let's do.
First, we're going to take a look at all the different miniatures that come in the game. And you can see that the miniatures here are pretty detailed. This guy is the Cyber Demon. He's the only one that comes in multiple parts, but they just kind of nicely tuck in there. So we'll take a closer look at this chap. And you can see there's a lot of detail in these. The Marines, you'll have to tell them apart. This is one of those times where I think that'd be nice if they were painted, because they do look different to some degree. I mean, yes, there's the one guy with the chainsaw, so he's easy to differentiate from the other ones, and this guy's a chain gun. But so they look good like everything else, and all the miniatures look good. I'll tell you a couple more of the bad guys here. We have Fatty, Super Fatty, and this Cyber Demon. Or no, it's not the Cyber Demon, but there's just, and this guy. This is probably my favorite model. Some skeleton looking guy. So the models in this game are really good. The game comes with 3 rule books, but don't let that deter you. One is a Learn to Play, which shows you exactly how to play along with a tutorial. The rules reference guide is simply something you look up if you have a rules question. You don't read these for the rules. You're like, oh, I have some questions about grenades. Well, here's a whole section in a book about grenades. And then the last one is the operation guide, which will show you how to set up each scenario and the different things that are going on in that scenario. Players are going to use puzzle pieces to build the different scenarios. They're double-sided. The one side is the nice space station. The other side is the space station. And so this is not an actual scenario. This is me setting it up. They're pretty simple to set up. You have some doors. Unlike many quote-unquote dungeon crawls, this one does not have secret stuff. You can see everything in it. You're basically just trying to go through the level as quick as you can. There's a few dotted lines. Like you can see this dotted blue line, the dotted red line, and the straight red line. Those are to show things like, for example, you can't cross from one to the other, but you can see here. And some of them show that it costs more movement points to go inside. Each mission that you play, you're going to be using 2 different cards. The one card tells you how the Marines and the Invader win. The Invaders are getting 6 frag tokens, which is basically every time they kill one of the Marines, they get a frag token. And then the Marines have different things that they need to do based on what kind of scenario it is. And there also might be some other special rules. So each scenario has 2 cards. That's one card. The other card is essentially going to show how the invaders work, how invaders are going to teleport more guys in. There's going to be different portals on the map, and they're going to be trying to bring those in. The invaders are also going to be picking a card at the beginning of the game. This card is going to show them who can warp in each portal. So for example, if I take Cruel Mayhem, in the blue portals I can bring in 3 imps, or an imp, the possessed soldier, and then one of these markers that I can put on that imp. Or in the yellow portal, I can bring in a possessed soldier and a Baron of Hell, or a possessed soldier and a Revenant in one of those markers. So you're going to get 2 of these at the beginning of the game. You're going to pick like which groups you would like to use in that battle. Each Marine is going to choose whether they're going to be Alpha, Brava, Charlie, or Delta. Those are the code names. And players are going to draw 2 cards, like special ability cards, and they're going to pick those. So, do you want to be a squad captain or an assassin? Do you want to be a vanguard or a combat engineer? Do you want to be a shock trooper, or do you want to be a security specialist? And each of these will give you a special ability you can use over the course of the game. Players are also going to get some cards. They have armor, reposition, a quick shot, and these 4 cards that they're going to start with, they have 2 of the quick shots actually. These cards that they're going to start with are going to allow them, it's like a starting deck of cards that you have. You're going to get more cards depending on the weapons that you pick. So let's say, for example, I pick a plasma rifle. Then I would add 2 rapid fires and a stun bomb to my deck of cards. Each Marine's going to start with 2 of these weapons. Or I might want to add a super shotgun, which gives me 2 up close and personals and a double-barreled blast. Or maybe I want the burst rifle, which gives me 2 3-round bursts and a magnum shot that go into my deck. Or maybe I just want the combat shotgun, which just gives me 3 shotgun maneuvers. All the cards in that one are the same. Or a static rifle, which gives me 2 charges and a discharge. And maybe I want the heavy assault rifle, which gives me a scoped burst and 2 unloads. Each of these cards is very different. And over the mission, if you find another card, so let's say I find the chain gun, another weapon, I can take the chain gun cards and add them to my deck. And there's all sorts of cool weapons, including the chain the chain gun, the rocket launcher, the chainsaw, and yes, the BFG 9000. The Invader player is going to be building their own deck of cards they're going to be picking some different things. So they might pick Seek and Destroy, and they'll take all the cards that go with Seek and Destroy and put them in a deck, or Savage Strength, or Blood Rush, or Armored Offensive. So they're going to pick some of these, shuffle them together, and have their own deck of cards. There's going to be some initial spawning, and then over the course of the game, each player is going to put their cards in a deck. So if Bravo and Charlie are playing, they're going to put these cards in this initiative deck. And the Invader is going to put 1 card in this deck for each different type of bad guy who is on the map, which means the number of Invader cards they have in a deck is going to change at any given point in time. So you're going to shuffle this deck and draw it, and if it's the Invader is going to activate a group on the board, and each of these groups has different kinds of things that they can do for activation. So we have these are all the different types of bad guys, and it'll tell you how fast they can move, what their health is, what dice they roll an attack. There's black and red dice, and so the bad guy can move and an attack with the different people that he has, and he also has a chance to play some of those cards, which will buff it. When a Marine gets a turn, they're going to get a certain number of actions depending on the number of players in the game. There's always 4 actions, so if all 4 players in the game, each player gets 1 action on their turn. If there's only 2 Marines, then each Marine gets 2 actions. If there's 3, 1 Marine gets 2 actions, the other 2 get 1, so on and so forth. When it's your turn, you're going to be using these cards that you have. You'll have a hand of cards that you will have drawn from your deck. And this symbol here means action. So a Marine can play one of these as an action. So let's say they use the shotgun maneuver. Well, they have a speed of 4, and they can use this before or after they attack, or both. They have a special ability that might happen on their turn. And then they have a gun that they can fire. They have a range of 4, and in this game, everything is counted both next to or diagonally for movement and for shooting. So they have a range of 4, and they roll a red and a black die when attacking the enemy. Now, this game comes with red and black dice, and these red and black dice, the red dice are not as good as the black dice because they have a blank side and 1s and 2s. The black dice have no blank sides and go all the way up from 1s, 2s to a 3. Once the attacker rolls to see if they've hit the enemy, as long as they're within range, then the other side is going to flip a card from the top of their deck. So if it's the Marines, they can flip a card here. Boom, they drew the armor card. That blocks 3 of the damage when the invaders attack them. Or quick shot. Sometimes this symbol here means you avoid the attack no matter how much damage you have. But there's also going to be cards with nothing on them, which can be problematic when that happens to you. But there are other cards that might let you change things and do different things. And when you're building your deck initially with the different guns that you have, you are certainly going to consider the cards you put in your deck. The Invader cards are the same way. Many of them have nothing on them. Sometimes they have this weird symbol on them here, which means look at the particular enemy who's being attacked, and it will tell you, like for this enemy, that means it's 1 armor. For this enemy, though, that means you completely miss them. For this enemy, it's 3 armor. So each of them are going to have different abilities when they do defense. And that's basically attacking defense. When your hit points go down to 0, you're removed from the board. The Marines are going to spawn back in at a teleporter. The aliens are gone, but the invader player probably has a way to bring more of them back. If a Marine moves into an alien, so aliens are taking hits as this game goes by, and you'll see this one takes 6 hit points, but you'll see underneath there, they have 4. Okay, that's their stagger amount. If they're 4 and a Marine moves into their area, they're dead. There are some things like maybe grenades or the chainsaw that lower this number, and when that happens, the Marine is considered to have gotten a glory kill. They will draw one of these cards, which immediately gives them 2 damage back. They recover 2 damage, but they can also keep it to use in the future. So Marines are going to be taking actions on their turns. Some cards are not actions. They're like free actions. Most of the cards are actions, but there are some free actions they can play. These you can play. This draw 2 cards and gives you 1 speed besides your normal action. And there's even some cards that can be played as a reaction on the enemy's turn. And that's it. You're basically just going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until one team has won the game based on their mission. For the invader, killing the Marines 6 times, and for Marines doing whatever they need to do, usually shutting down portals or something like that. Now, I didn't go over every single detail of the game. There's more than that. There's, for example, people can get stunned in this game, which incidentally is the only like special thing. Usually games have stunned and poisoned and bleeding and all
Correct.
that. This just has stunned. And this kind of brings home a concept of this game, which I think is interesting, is that compared to many of these games that are out there, this is a more simple version. Like the dice just have you hit or don't.
Right.
And armor, I don't have to sit there and go, okay, this is armor piercing. Do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's a few guns that have the armor piercing ability, but for the most part, you don't have to worry about a bunch of abilities.
No.
I don't have to sit there and go, oh, this guy's resilient. What does resilient mean?
Well, some of the Marines have that. They have special abilities that only they can do, and you have to keep track of what your special abilities are.
But it says it on the card. It's not like listed in the back of the book.
Yeah, exactly. It's not some keyword on the front of your playmat that says just that word, and now you have to remember what that word means. Yeah, that's true.
So let's start by talking about the components of the game. You're the miniatures guy. I think the miniatures of the game are pretty cool, but you are more definitively experienced than I am on this.
Well, I don't know about all that, but they are, for the most part, single mold miniatures, and the ones that you do have to put together, they are like the Imperial Assault ones that have to be, it's this big chunky, stick that into there and it holds. You don't even have to glue it. You can glue it if you want to, but you don't have to. And that's the kind of miniatures, the bigger miniatures are like the ones in Imperial Assault that have to do that. All of the other ones are single molds and pretty good. I mean, the definition is pretty high on them, and they're not too small. That's the thing with me. I don't like really small miniatures. I like larger ones.
Yeah, I thought they were really cool looking. I mean, some of them are grotesque, but they're cool looking. Like I said, my only complaint was some of the Marines at a glance are harder to tell apart. The chainsaw guy is easy, but some of the others, and maybe this is just the way I don't play. I haven't played the newest Doom. I've played Dooms in the past. I just Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta just seems very generically names. It's like, which one's Delta again? It's not like, I don't know.
It's the green guy.
I know, but Delta is harder for me to remember than like Johnny or whatever the guy's name is. I'm not saying they should be called Johnny. The rest of the stuff is fine. It's your typical puzzle piece board. Putting the different. I didn't like the wound markers. They were those 1s and 3s, and they had that weird. They didn't look like wounds.
No.
Well, whatever.
No, they didn't.
Okay, so now the game. I want to talk about the best part of the game first, and that's those cards. That is I thought this is the first time I've seen deck building used in like a shooting style game.
Well, deck building at least at the beginning of the game, yeah.
You're right. It's not really deck building. You're not building shuffle building, maybe like the smash up and things like that.
Because you're basically picking. You pick your weapon. You pick your loadout. Kind of reminiscent of Level 7 Omega Protocol, where you're picking what your guy is going to be carrying. Although it's not to that extent. It's much more foundational than that. But And then each weapon has like 3 or 4 cards. I think 3.
Yeah, 3.
3 cards that you can put into your deck, and then you shuffle your deck, and those cards will come up every once in a while. So I really did like that. I enjoyed it. I didn't know how I would feel about it, but seeing it work out through the game really works well.
Yeah, and the weapons are really different. Some
Yeah.
give more movement, others have more firepower, and you got to kind of try to think, okay.
Some give a lot more movement,
Well,
and
right.
some don't give any.
Well, they all give some on at least some of their cards.
Yeah, one out of 3.
But do you like the cards themselves, how they're movement and shooting, and you can shoot in the middle of your movement? What do you think about that?
Yes, I do like the freedom that affords you. Most of the time, most games like this, you have to move and shoot, or shoot and then move. You can't move, shoot, move. You can do that in this game, and it just seems more realistic.
Like a shoot 'em up. You're running and going.
Yeah, exactly.
In the middle of your move.
Right. Yeah, it makes more sense, I guess you could say. So I did like that. Now, one of the things that I noticed, because the first time we played, I just picked the coolest weapons. Well, it turns out that the coolest weapons don't allow you to move very much. And I was feeling that about halfway through the game when he caught on that, oh, I don't have to go up and hit him every turn. I can run away and set a trap or something to that effect. So you got to be careful with the weapons that you pick, so you have a good even level of movement versus offensive firepower.
Yeah, I mean, the game is basically you're shooting and the damage. The game does cover, interestingly enough. If you're in
Right.
cover, you get to flip another card. You can like replace the card that you've rolled. It does seem balanced.
Yeah.
I will say that the aliens, or the demons, the invader player, I feel like their mission is always the same. Well, it is always the same. On all the missions, it's kill the Marines. And I guess that's fine. But I do feel like, unlike others of these games, that the invader can play as hard as they want.
Yeah, you don't have to hold back because the Marines are that strong. But at the same time, the aliens are that strong too.
Oh, when your big guys come out, those big guys are big.
So you Marines, you can't hold back either. It's a full on both sides. That's really fun to me.
And the monsters aren't really that diverse. I felt they all shoot. Right? I'm used to playing games where some monsters can only run up and bite you and stuff.
Yeah.
These all monsters all shoot. Everyone's shooting everywhere.
Right.
It's those cards and how you use the cards that make things different. And it has that Argent power. Those are those tokens that you can put on monsters, and then it lets them release like really powerful abilities.
Very powerful abilities.
I mean, like the cyber demon has like what, missiles or some beam?
yeah,
Just,
a 12 dice attack. What?
Speaking of dice, Fantasy Flight, seriously,
Please.
put more dice in your games. This game has barely enough dice, and you have to pass them around.
No, I would say this does not have enough dice.
Well, technically...
And we all... No, technically, this does not have enough dice. You need to include as many dice as are required by both sides to play the game, so that you don't have to pass around the same 6 dice the entire game. Stop trying to just make money. Because we know you're going to release a dice pack.
Yes, they are. I'm sure that's going to happen. Another thing that was different about this game is the stagger, where the monsters, you could run into monsters and kill them. And that's kind of a weird thing. I've not seen that in a game before. Basically, you're going to have to do a kill shot or a stab.
Glory
or a knife or whatever.
kill. A glory death or whatever. What was it called?
Yeah, glory kill.
Glory kill, yeah.
Yeah, yay, you killed someone close up. But it is an interesting thing, and I think you have to learn to do them more because they're an easy way to kill the monsters, but also it encourages movement, and it also gives you extra cards, which can be handy later on.
Yeah.
The thing is, I like the game, don't get me wrong, but other than putting weapons in a card, it feels like each one of these games that comes out from Fantasy Flight, they don't start afresh. It feels like they take their last game, these mechanisms from other games, and they say, hey, what worked from this game, what didn't work. And I'm okay with that. It's like an evolution of games, per se. But after a while, they're going to...
Start seem samey?
Yeah. And this one, you're like, oh, it's different. The combat's different and stuff. Right, but why would I own this over Imperial Assault or Descent and stuff? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, with Doom, I think they completely cut out the whole campaign thing. You can play the different scenarios in order, but it doesn't matter. You're not leveling up, getting experience and stuff, so you can just pick one and play it. And I think that that's good. And this one's also simpler. And the other one is if you like the Doom universe. I actually don't like the Doom universe.
Right.
But I like the game.
Yeah.
Okay? That me not liking the universe, does that drop it down some, my rating? Maybe. But I just think that if I'm going to play Doom, I could also play Imperial Assault. If I'm going to play Doom, I could also play Descent. If I want to play Doom, I could play other games that are kind of like that. So I have to say, what is different about this one? It's fast. Mm-hmm. It's very streamlined, so that's cool. It has a lot of nasty monsters in it, so I think some people are going to love it. But for me, I'm going to give it 1 shotgun up. That's what you were going to say.
No, I wasn't going to say shotgun because that just looks like Grandpa's shotgun from the basement. But I'm not so missing the campaign part of this kind of game isn't as big of a deal for me because
no, I don't think it's a bad thing either.
Right.
I think it's actually a good thing. I don't need campaigns all the time.
Right. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that I don't play these kinds of games enough. I don't revisit them enough to warrant having a campaign version. I mean, if you played like, for example, if you play Imperial Assault twice a week, yeah, you want the campaign style so you can keep track of your guy and level him up and all this other kind of stuff. But if you play this once every 2 months, campaign style just isn't necessary. That's one of the main reasons why I play Imperial Assault almost exclusively with skirmish style, because that's just the way I like to play it. So this being a scenario-driven skirmish style game isn't a bad thing for me. It's actually kind of a plus because I don't have to worry about feeling like I'm missing half the game by not playing a campaign style of the game. So I actually like that about this. Now, like Tom, I'm not so keen on the Doom universe, as it were, but again, the things look like cyber experiments. They don't necessarily look like demons per se. And I know that probably half of you probably don't even care about that, but that makes a difference for me because that will mean that I can pull this out and play it with my family and my 2 older boys at least.
Doom, the family game.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to give this 1.5 chainsaws up because it does fit that niche in my gaming library that I really enjoy these kinds of games, and having a little bit of a different film over it makes a difference sometimes.
Huzzah.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.